Chapter 86, Harriet the Spy. So, this Vernon character is likely Vern Noin, a recent runaway from the Noin Apuk clan that, for some reason, amputated his horns and tail before participating in a tournament to earn a title before his emotions got the better of him, and he tore his own shell off. Harriet asked for clarification, desperately wishing for some kind of hard drink to dull the throbbing pain that the stupid was bringing. She met Vernon. Before he bumbled into a fairy tale romance, he was nothing more than a dork who managed to stick out the harsh training. He was not the runaway son of an Apuk noble. He was not some impossibly well put-together robot. He wasn't a chemically enhanced super-tret either. Although telling him about these working theories to his origins would likely have the man fall to the ground laughing. Most of the nerd squad too. Make that most people on the Dauntless, actually. Okay, assuming he is an Apuk with amputated parts, where did the Shay name come from, and why does his apparent first time out in the galaxy at large on the record has him being seduced by then marrying an Apuk battle princess? Harriet asks the room at large as she goes over the information. It's honestly rather fun to throw out ideas and see where these crazies run with them. There's an ancestor in the Noin clan known as Shay Noin. It was a few generations back, and she was apparently quite the rebel in her youth before settling down in a hurry. Lavender notes as she goes over more and more data. If the girl didn't seem to be outright obsessed with finding the dumbest reasons for anything, she would actually be an amazing data analyst. So Shay is a small act of rebellion. But if he's so strong as a sorcerer and warrior, then why would he be so stupid as to think that calling himself Vernon rather than Vern Noin would somehow fool people? Harriet tries to both see if there's some kind of sense to be had in the girl and play up her role as a junior member of this conspiracy. "Boss lady, boss lady, boss lady," one of the Sharbi exclaims flying in. "Got the video. Same one that new girl got. He was just leaving Defenestration Nation. Lot of marks on him. Maybe he got caught a few more times." The purple-clad cultist exclaims, zooming in with her communicator at the ready. "Maybe he was with a bunch of Yaya, and don't they have a big fetish for that kind of thing?" Genshina asks. Yes it does. That's not relevant to this though. Our interest in him is about tracing movements and finding the weakness in the bots," Lavender remarks, be free thinking. "We need more information. We're working half blind here and we don't have all the pieces." She says a hoof to her muzzle. Harriet looks past her to the massive wall filled with news reports and with enough purple yarn to weave a rug connecting them all together. It seems like the actual problem is that there's too much information and the sheer amount of irrelevant garbage is getting in the way of the actual going-ons. A pity you can't seduce robots, otherwise we could get information that way. Harriet remarks, if only to get Lavender out of her current little pattern of "we need more information" and the increasingly long list of things she needs it on. Robotics makes sense, as does biology, and perhaps Axiom use but floral arrangements across Serbo. Why? Of course, there has to be some kind of AI loop to exploit. If these things are low-grade brain scans of one person a few thousand times over, then they'll all give out identical reactions to the same situation. No variance that's perfect. "Tirita, you have your mission," Lavender exclaims, and Harriet starts blushing heavily at the implications and stutters before she can get anything proper out. "Mission? Seduction? Oh no, what did I?" Her eyes go wide and there's laughter around the room. "No, don't worry, but you should learn to just in case. I'll be the one seducing. It's been some time, but I've been regenerated recently enough. A bit of dye, some lipstick, and a proper outfit, and I'll have one of these bots eating out of my floof." Lavender boasts before patting her fur-covered breasts. "But they're robots. How does a robot get seduced?" "Skipped a bit in your education, Tarita?" Lavender asks, and Harriet flinches a little. "I wasn't the best student. Robots have 3 grades. false intelligence, simulated intelligence, and artificial intelligence. False is the algorithms in your search engines. They can spot patterns and try to continue them, but that's about it. Simulated intelligence is basically a false intelligence taken to an extreme. It can almost pretend to be a person, but actually isn't. A lot of automated equipment runs off simulated intelligence. Most automated transit and transportation systems are simulated intelligences. Artificial intelligence comes about in one way and one way only: neural uploads. Neural uploads? But in what way? Does each bot have a different instance, or are they all controlled by a big central mind on that ship? Harriet asks, and Lavender goes cross-eyed at the implications. Her mane actually starts to smoke a little as she considers the implications and then lets out a gigantic, "Of course," and rushing out. Harriet asks. "Just follow her to Rita," Genshina says, and Harriet moves, before finding herself nearly careening into the insane purple unicorn that's wrestling on a thong and a skirt that would be considered small for a belt. "Just give me a moment." "Ah, there we are," Lavender says cheerfully as she gets the skirt over her massive rear end. So distracted by her plans, she failed to notice she could have simply unbuttoned it the entire time. "I still don't see how seduction will help. Brain upload or not, a robot is a robot, right? They don't have sexual urges." "Oh, you poor simple child. You really did skip out on that part of engineering, didn't you?" "I may have reprogrammed things for pop songs a day or three." Harriet lies, and Lavender giggles at the thought. "A fine use of your time, but the long and short of it is that a person's mind is made to take a huge amount of input in from every part of the body. There's a bigger and bigger risk of the mind going insane if there are parts missing, including sexual," she exclaims before forcing on what looks to be a teeny tiny tank top even as her hair twists itself into a pair of pigtails, and a series of purple and white dyes are applied to it. It's a cheerleader outfit, but her makeup application says goth, as does the stud she's putting through a hole in her tongue. Harriet is learning things about this woman that she never wanted to know. And what will be the excuse you use to be dressed the way you are while right next to one of the robots? Assuming they have the sexual components and can't just turn that part of themselves off. Harriet asks mostly to see if there was a way to stop this before the normal slack-jawed asshole on the Dauntless saw her in the middle of this porno parody. "Laundry day or a bet. Second, I'll have a scanner tucked into my floof and you'll be nearby with another to get a good look," Lavender says excitingly as she applies a little more mascara to really sell the goth chick cheerleader vibe. She's not sure how high on the stupid shit rating this is, but it's up there. "And if this works too well and he finds it in your floof?" Harriet asks, and Lavender laughs even as she clips on some skull-decorated hairbands and a few jangly earrings. Long stockings go over her legs and the skirt is unfolded to just barely cover the horsewoman's shame. "I've studied Talon Street. Her many adventures in romance and battling pirates have taught me everything I need to know on seducing men and sneaking things away," Lavender explains, and Harriet blinks in confusion before glancing around the room and finding a hard copy of a Talon Street novel. Warp cores and wandering hands. It looks like a cross between a Harlequin romance and a space opera. After a moment of stewing in the fact that the idiot unicorn conspiracy theorist is going to slut up as a goth cheerleader and try to seduce one of her fellow soldiers, Harriet comes to an important decision. She wouldn't miss this train wreck for anything. Anything! At her suggestion, and in an effort to be helpful, Harriet is acting as a porter and carrying a bunch of Lavender's laundry. Apparently, the silly creature's spies were watching a trinity of men clearly off the Dauntless in a laundromat. Harriet struggled to suppress her grin at the sheer absurdity she can sense coming. 20 minutes later, and they're outside the laundromat in question, and it's all Harriet can do to not burst into laughter. She recognizes the men in there: Amadi, Reggie, and Koa. The sweeper team that had a strange knack for bumbling onto more and more conspiracies. If the data chip that Reggie was pulling out of a coin return with an irritated look on his face is any indication, then they're in the middle of another one. Give me the laundry and be ready to watch and learn. Lavender orders her, and she quickly takes the soiled clothing as Harriet leans against the building and pulls out her communicator as if she was merely caught up in her social life. "You're good at this, Tarita," the goofy unicorn says, and baffles Harriet as a surge of paranoia rushes through the girl before she forces it down. "So what's up? Need extraction?" Koa texts back to her in English in response to her heads up. The four-legged pervy that walked in leads the purple perceivers. "She's checking you three for robots," she texts as she glances around to make sure no one is watching. Her communicator won't record this interaction, but the fact it's in an unknown language should alert someone. But no one's paying attention to her, just another tread on the sidewalk. "Robots? What?" Koa demands. "Long story, she's harmless, but you three don't know me," Harriet answers. "All right, if you need backup, the code word is Hawaii. If you're being forced to give a code up and need rescue, it's Florida. Any orders?" Koa sends back. "Just play along with her plan. She'll try seduction and will be looking for proof of a robot or seducer. Whichever way it goes, you are to let her have her fun, and you do not know me," she says before giving a glance into the laundromat to check both sides of this oncoming train wreck. "We're here to bait out cults and lead them on. We know what we're doing, Miss Total Stranger that we have never seen before in our lives." Koa returns. "I will slap the sarcasm out of you someday," she threatens him, is the smug response from the large Hawaiian man. She can only watch in horror as the stupid horsewoman is all but twerking in full view of all three men. Amadi is looking a little two-dimensional, meaning the illusionist bastard is likely laughing himself sick at the moment and trying not to give up the game. Reggie is looking away in disgust, but also clearly sneaking glances. So the rumors about the man struggling with something he finds physically appealing and morally disgusting are spot on. Good. All that work in learning every rumor on the Dauntless as social training from Sir Philip has actually paid off. It seems to be hitting him especially hard as he mouths the word bestiality to himself. But he does keep looking. So what are the odds of one of you idiots falling for her charms? She sends after a few more minutes of the combination spy action and strip show. Considering that my girls have been very attentive, Amadi can't stop laughing and Reggie is listing off every SED known to man and a fair few from around the galaxy. Fairly small. Koa responds and Harriet snorts in amusement. Yay, that was about what she was expecting.